everybody, Trevor here, and it's time for another top 5 video. Disney. It used to be one of the best animation companies in the world. You may recognize them for some of their greatest achievements, including the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937, as well as their popular branches such as Pixar. You may also recognize them for their famous Disney parks such as the Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. But for me, when it comes to their properties, I still fondly remember them for how they're still handling the Kingdom Hearts series very well, but that's only because it was developed by Square Enix since 2002. And to be quite honest, I still like Disney, but to a certain extent. Though I do agree with the majority of people that the Walt Disney Company hasn't really been the same since the early 2020s. And that's why we're here to discuss my top 5 reasons on why I hate modern day Disney in general. I know there are more than 5 reasons to hate Disney nowadays, but these are the only 5 that I can think of at the moment. So without further ado, let's begin the dark Disney magic by diving deep into the downward Disney spiral. Number 5. Their political/woke agenda. Now, before you start any flame wars in the comments section, I am not racist nor misogynistic. And as a straight white American male, I love everybody in general, no matter what race, gender, disability, or ethnicity they have. But like most people in this society, I can safely agree that Disney and their woke agenda have gotten out of hand these days. In fact, there are some woke actors and actresses like Rachel Zegler who think that they're in the right and we're wrong about something. For example, if you say that you don't like this casting choice or the way that this character was written in the story, then you're either racist, sexist, or both. I hate people like that, which is why I like to call them woke-tards. Disney, just because something is woke doesn't mean it's free of criticism. And no matter what you say or do, it's not going to bring world peace. In other words, you can't please everyone. That's why there's a saying, go woke, go broke. And if you're going to keep that up, you'll be making less and less money and drawing fewer and fewer audience members. If you want to see certain woke movies done right, then I suggest you watch Wicked Part 1 and the first 2 Spider-Verse movies with Miles Morales in it, because they have much better writing and more interesting character dynamics than what Disney could ever even hope to do. Number 4. They've ruined Star Wars. When it comes to this franchise, people like Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and J.J. Abrams don't really understand the lore and charm of what made Star Wars groundbreaking in the first place. I mean, say what you want about the prequels, but at least they did something good for the franchise, and that they had what's called consistency, just like with the original Star Wars trilogy from the 1970s and 80s. But the way Disney milks this franchise just doesn't really feel the same anymore. Not only have they ruined certain characters like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, but they also brought back Emperor Palpatine from the dead in Episode 9 just for the stupid sake of nostalgia. It just doesn't make any sense no matter how you slice it. Oh, and by the way, The Rise of Skywalker was the biggest reason why I give up on Star Wars nowadays because of its box office failure and poor reception for both audiences and critics alike. I mean, no offense to anyone who still likes Star Wars, but you need to understand why Star Wars is a punchline nowadays, and why the sequel trilogy is more hated than the prequels. And no, I won't be covering The Acolyte, The Mandalorian, or any brand new Star Wars project that's made by Disney because, as I stated earlier, I've given up on this franchise ever since Episode 9 of the sequel trilogy. Number 3. The pointless live-action remakes. I'll be honest, I used to like Disney live-action remakes in general because they mostly stayed true to the original animated counterparts, but with some differences here and there. But nowadays, they've just gotten worse and worse. I'll eventually make a top 5 worst live-action remakes video, but not until the upcoming Snow White comes out in theaters next month. Oh, and speaking of which, so far, when I first watched the trailers for this movie, I already hated it. And considering Rachel Zegler's bad behavior and narcissism, it makes me not want to support this movie in any way, shape, or form. And if you're going to defend that, then go fuck yourself! Another reason why most of these live-action remakes suck is that they weren't as good as their original anime versions when it comes to storytelling, character development, acting, writing, moral execution, and most notoriously, padding. An example of this was Aquafina's singing performance, The Scuttlebutt, where she sings in the most annoying manner ever. Am I the only one who liked her better in other roles like Sisu from Ryan the Last Dragon, Jen from Kung Fu Panda 4, and Ms. Tarantula from The Bad Guys? Because those roles suit her more than this one, in my arrogant opinion. But the most pointless one, in my honest opinion, would be the 2019 Lion King remake, because it's basically a shot for shot remake of the original, but with more padding and bland special effects. Not to mention that the characters look expressionless. But hey, at least they fixed that in the Mufasa prequel, but that's not saying much. Overall, the live action remake library in general is as pointless as most of the direct to video Disney sequels. While some of them are decent, yes, but most of the other ones are either mediocre, bad, or just have no reason to exist whatsoever. I suggest you watch the original cartoon versions instead because those are much better. Coming at number 2 is how they're handling the Disney parks nowadays. Not only have they increased their prices to the most ridiculous amounts that it just makes me not want to go there, but they've also treated their customers and employees very poorly. For example, there was this one time where this woman died from an allergic reaction after eating some of their food, despite the couple reminding them not to add in certain ingredients that would cause her to be allergic. And because the husband was so angry, and rightfully so, he sued the Disney company for killing his wife. Though unfortunately, because the husband had a Disney Plus account, he wasn't allowed to sue them and therefore lost the case. What the actual fuck? Another reason why the Disney parks suck these days is that they decided to add alcohol to their menus despite the fact that the original Walt Disney didn't want alcohol in the parks to begin with because he wanted the parks to be family oriented and safe. And besides, alcohol is bad for you, so why bother adding them to your food menus? Oh, and the Disney adults aren't helping either. They basically think that they own the place by either breaking the rules or just plain man children who think they're a child forever and didn't want to leave the parks. I don't know if it's because of the alcohol or some other mental illness. Hell, I'm an autistic Disney adult, and even I know better than to break the rules. And don't get me started on the Disney Genie app and lightning lanes. I'll provide some links in the description below if you want more information on why Disneyland and Disney World aren't the happiest places on Earth anymore. Otherwise, we'd be here all day. Trust me, I follow Clownfish TV and other Disney news channels on YouTube just to keep up with the times and to understand what's going on in the frickin' world. Before we get to number 1, I just want to give a few dishonorable mentions. The way they've ruined Marvel. To be quite honest, I'm not a huge fan of Marvel, but I liked Spider-Man, Deadpool, and the Avengers series. But I can understand why the brand is failing nowadays for the most part because of woke agenda, and that they refuse to let a grieving father use a Spider-Man icon for his dead 4-year-old son's gravestone, which is very disgusting of them to not do. I mean, that poor father and his poor dead son deserved better. Wish's failure. In all honesty, I don't hate Disney's Wish. I think it's passable and not as boring as Strange World, but it still could have been a lot better if they hadn't cut out certain concept ideas here and there. So yeah, I don't wish to hate this film, pun intended, because it is part of the Disney animation canon after all. Bob Chapek. He would have been number 1 because he already stepped down nowadays, which is a good thing because he was technically the one who started the current downfall of the Disney brand. Oh, and speaking of which, the number 1 reason why I hate modern Disney nowadays is Bob Iger himself. I thought Michael Eisner wasn't all that great, then I thought Bob Chapek was the worst, but boy oh boy, Bob Iger proved himself to be the absolute worst of the bunch. He's the biggest reason why the Walt Disney Company's reputation has been flushed down the frickin' toilet. And he's also a liar too, especially regarding the numbers on Disney Plus, as well as blaming the audience for each movie's failure, like Wish, for instance, as well as some of their live action remakes. Speaking of lies, Disney on Twitter claims that Mufasa is the #1 movie of late 2024, when in reality, Sonic 3 was being it at the box office. They've even bullied people and critics just to make them go watch and support Mufasa instead. Thank goodness I didn't give them my money that time because I was more interested in Sonic 3. If Bob Iger is watching this, which I doubt, I urge him to step down, get fired, and maybe get arrested for his crimes because he's just as petty and retarded as David Zaslav from Warner Brothers. I mean, they're both stubborn and blind to negative criticism in every goddamn way possible. Pardon my language, folks. I normally don't say the R word because I have Asperger's syndrome, but my god. Bob Iger is really getting on my nerves these days, no thanks to his mismanagement and stuff. Anyways, those are my top 5 reasons why I hate modern Disney in general. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to, and click the bell icon to be notified for my latest uploads. I'll eventually make a further thoughts video on the subject at hand, just in case if there's anything I might have missed or intentionally left out of the video due to timing constraints, but right now, I need a break from Disney stuff for a while, just to focus on something that's an even bigger and more important part of my childhood. Now, as much as I don't like Disney as a company these days, I'll still support Pixar and Kingdom Hearts since those are the only few saving graces of the Disney brand. And let's hope that Kingdom Hearts doesn't go on the same exact dark road as Star Wars and Marvel, no pun intended. Otherwise, I will officially give up on Disney forever. This is Trevor Davis signing off, and I hope to see you all again, but on more pleasant terms.